However, due to the tightness of the schedule, which includes only 2 weeks of float, and the uncertainties associated with foundation drilling and caisson sinking work between the two main stairwells being done by the Site J developer, it is very likely that the opening of the station will not occur until several weeks following the second quarter of 2015. What remains to be completed is the final integrated testing of ventilation fan plants, fire alarm systems, CCTV, third rail power, public address systems, elevators and escalators, and intrusion access systems throughout the facilities, which all must communicate with the Rail Control Center and supervisory command sites by successfully passing through the network transmission backbone system. I cannot emphasize enough the complexity of testing these components, some of which are being introduced to MTA's communication systems for the very first time. The time intensity of these activities is also due to prescribed sequential protocols and procedures that must be followed in a linear fashion. These are the activities that present the greatest challenge to completing this project in a timely manner. Aside from the integration testing of the previously mentioned systems, all major construction work, with the exception of the fare system array, co-compliance items, and minor architectural trims, is complete. If you walk through the station today, you will encounter a massive 3-level station structure, beautifully done with the utmost attention to quality and detail. To give you a sense of what you will experience when we do open, I'm going to give you now a quick visual tour of the station. I'll be up on the board. This is the Site J entrance, situated in a park on the south side of 34th Street near 11th Avenue. Now, obviously, this photo was taken last June under better weather conditions, as there's not a lot of green that you can see there today. Oh, thanks for the phone. This is the way it looks today. As you can see, there's no green. Turn the next slide. A little time delay. As you can see there. This pointer doesn't work on this screen. I don't know the screen to go to. But basically, this is the Site J. The outline of the box is where the Site J developer is going to be putting their building. In the middle of that box on the bottom, there's 2 rows of 5 caissons that have to be drilled and then set. If the developer is on time doing that, we should have no problems. If they do encounter difficulties while they're drilling, then the project could be somewhat delayed, could affect our schedule. The next slide.
Just to make it clear, those caissons go right through, as Tony talked before, not through, but around, very in close proximity to the escalator runs down to the platform.
Right, between the two, and I'll show you later E1 and E2, the 2 large stairwells. The next slide, as you enter the station, I'm going to give you a little walkthrough now. You look up and you see a beautiful mosaic designed by artist Zenobia Bailey and set in place by Mioto Mosaic Art Studio. You take a few steps further, and you will see another mosaic offering a stunning first impression to our customers. You walk further, and you come to the Station Service Center booth. Take a little turn around, 180 degrees, and you see the 4 low-rise escalators that connect the park to the upper mezzanine. Now, you go down to the upper and lower mezzanines. Next slide. The upper and lower mezzanines are connected by 2 long stairwells, one E2 and E1. This is E2. And as Tom said before, it's between E2 and E1 where there will be, at the bottom of those stairwells, where they'll be putting 3 of those, 6 of those 10 caissons. These are 4, this is E2, there are 4 high-rise escalators with a vertical drop of 84 feet. Now that is 50% deeper than anything we have in the system today. These are built by Kone, they are sturdy and durable, and they're also capable of variable speed operation. Yes?
Were you saying that the bottom of those stairs is deeper than anything we have today, or just the length?
The drop, and therefore the lengths. So the vertical drop.
But the station is not the deep. It's not deeper
No,
than First Street, right?
But that drop in escalator, I think the other one is probably 53rd and Lex, and I think that's like 56 feet. This is 84 feet. So these are big escalators. I mean, this is something. These are monsters. So if you go to the next stairwell over to the right, now here you can. This is the E1 stairwell. And here we have the 2 unique inclined elevators shown here. And there's also a 5th high-rise escalator to the left of that middle elevator. So you actually have 5 high-rise escalators and these 2 very special inclined elevators. Now the next photos, these are taken on the lower mezzanine, and this is 1 level above the track level, and this is looking north. Next, here's another one. This is also at the north end. The next one, this is another one looking down to the platform level. And then one more, the final one. This is from the platform looking back up to the mezzanine. Now, if we can just stay on this photo, I brought this up earlier today. You really should note the high-end quality of all these installations. Our contractor, Skanska Railworks, JV, they actually really, you know, I don't throw compliments out the contractors a lot, but they really did a superb job with this installation. This is a wonderful job. You can look at the straightness of the railings. Everything's cut together. Everything's symmetrical, put together in place. They really did a nice job, and you'll see that with other photos that I do put up there. Very nice. Now we move away from the public areas, and we're into the back of house. Now here we have the train dispatcher's room. Now this is all state-of-the-art equipment, integrating radio, telephone, and dispatching functions. You can notice the signal interlocking board, which is on the wall. Again, now this was done by Railworks Comstock. Again, also a very, very nice installation. The next one, our station is going to be equipped with an air tempering system. Here you can see the mammoth size of the facility ventilation fan room and the fan chamber. Next, you can see the air ducts associated with this up top. You can see fire standpipes on the left. You see electrical conduit fire standpipes on the right, and see electrical conduits on the left. Next, here you see this is very typical, in many places, a very typical electrical conduit installation. Again, the quality of the installation is fabulous. You've got everything straight, they're evenly spaced. The radial bends are all very tight. This was done by EJ Electric. It's a very nice job. Just by the way, something to note, we have over 380 miles of conduit throughout this whole facility. That's a lot. Here we have a facility battery room. In case of power failure, these batteries should provide facility power for up to 4 hours. Next, huh? I don't know. Do you know the exact type of batteries? Type of battery those are there? I know the batteries. They're called UPS, right? Is that the UPS? It's called UPS. I don't have an electrical here. Engineer. The electrical engineer? Yeah. No? Okay. Right. Okay. Speaking of power, trains need DC power to run. We have 2 large power substations. This is the one at Site L. There's also another one at Site J. We also have tunnel ventilation fans. Now we have them at 4 different sites. Now these fans are unique in that they have variable frequency drive motors. They can work in tandem at other locations, so Site K can work with Site J together and not only manage air in the tunnels, but they can actually work to take smoke and manage air throughout the station itself, which is really nice. They also have the capability of working at lower speeds in non-emergency situations so that they can therefore go and take and lower the temperature in the tunnel when necessary. So it's also something we don't really have anywhere else in the system. Next, these fans are at Site J, and the reason why I wanted to show these to you, you see this piece in the middle, this silver piece. This is a vibration isolator, and it's something new. We actually use this to control noise and vibration in surrounding structures. We only have one other of these like that, I think, at the Brooklyn Museum, but that's at a horizontal application and not with a vertical. This is the only one we have at a vertical application. And finally, we go down to track level. We have crossovers at both ends of the station. This one's at the north end. And then if you go further into the tunnel, you can see all the systems that are there. You've got rail and a low vibration platform. You've got aluminum composite third rail. You've got fiberglass protection board. You've got insulated joints, train stops. You've got the signal mast on the right. Behind it, the junction box. You've got tunnel lighting throughout the tunnel. And we also have these very neat, kind of something new too. We put these universal brackets in. So all the cables that are there, the tunnel lighting, signal messenger, the telephone, the antenna cable, all those, and they normally use their own systems to hang into the wall of the tunnel. And one of our CMs actually came up with this idea to put them all so it's very nicely spaced. They can go on one universal bracket. And it makes for a lot less application and worry later on with maintenance. And with a little luck, you can see the little signal over there. Hopefully, if we can keep moving and keep going on with a lot of cooperation with everyone, we'll be able to change that signal aspect and move forward and open the system soon. That's my presentation. I guess I'm going to go right into the, unless there's any questions, I'm going to go right into the monthly report. Any questions? And I guess you're going to put that on the board now, the normal report? Changing computers right now.
Tony, while we're waiting,
Sure.
how far south of the 11th Avenue and 34th Street station are the tracks?
Oh, the tail tracks, I think they go down to what, 26th Street? 26, yes. So it's a good bit of distance traveling all the way down. And that serves as your pocket track if you want to lay up trains and morning service also.
Originally, wasn't this project supposed to have a 3-track terminal there?
That was all part when they were also looking at having the, I guess, was it the center platform at 11th Avenue with the additional station on the option? There were all these things that were just going to cost a lot of money. And, you know, you have to remember this cost was at $2.1 billion. It was a tight cost early on, way back when. We've never adjusted from that cost, and we're under budget. So there was an option in the original contract to do a shell only for about $400 or $500 million for the 10th Avenue station, and then they ended up letting that option go because the city didn't want to pay for that.
Station, which I was a big fan of, obviously, notwithstanding, wouldn't a 3-track terminal have allowed you to turn trains around more quickly and run us up?
Actually, we did a model of that. Operations did when I was with Subways, and it was determined that 2-track was functional, was fine met our needs, so we stuck with the 2-track.
Were you here for this morning's session about how many people said this should go to, New Jersey? You've heard about that argument, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Well, a 2-track terminal sort of forecloses that option a little bit because you couldn't run trains just from 11th Avenue, 34th Street east to Flushing with a 2-track terminal. So that really,
It would be difficult.
I mean, forget the idea that you might have the train full by the time it gets to Manhattan if you ran it to New Jersey, but doesn't this sort of foreclose that option, just having a two-track terminal? I mean, you couldn't.
I don't think it forecloses it. There are other issues of concern about extending it that would have to be dealt with. But a 3-track terminal with 2 island platforms would give you more terminal capacity, clearly. Go ahead.
Okay, so next slide. We'll start with the regular report. The schedule I just went over. If you go down to cost at the bottom of the page, this project is well within its original budget, and we still forecast that this project will remain within budget at the end of the project. Next slide, the project overview, overall status highlights. I also touched on this earlier. Additionally, final signal in-service testing was completed on March 14th and will support start of operational training. Also, Site P is still expected to be completed at the end of next year. Next slide. This is cost and schedule performance. As you can see, the line, everything looks fine and is on target here. Something to note, that little blip in the middle and the bottom with third-party construction, that's really a good sign of a healthy project where you have a lot of activity going on in the middle of the project ahead of time, so it's a sign of a healthy project. Next. On the left side, this project was challenged early on with an aggressive schedule, and unlike our other mega projects, no schedule contingency was given, therefore we don't track it. On the right side, as you can see, all indications point to a healthy project, and there's a projection of a contingency balance of at least $2 million at the completion of the project. We now go through the critical milestones and issues. The first activity is the testing and acceptance of the transmission backbone system, the TBS. The issue is the completion of the connection-oriented Ethernet project was delayed. This delay impacts all major systems such as escalators, elevators, fire alarms, fans, and traction power. Our mitigation for that, the TBS Level 5 testing will start next week, and some portions will finish in April, which will facilitate the Level 5 test for the fire alarm. Other portions are going to be completed in May, which will support testing of tunnel ventilation fans, traction power, elevators, and escalators, etc. The next critical issue is the testing and acceptance of the fire alarm. The issue is that the fire alarm has experienced delay in Level 4 testing. The impact is very simple. The fire alarm is on the critical path. That's our most important system right now that we're tracking. Mitigation is at New York City Transit acceptance testing, which is what we call level 4 testing of 34th Street Station. Site A, Site K has been completed. Level 4 testing at Site J is in progress, and Site L will follow after that. What we're doing to help progress that is that our contractor is working extended hours and planning concurrent level 5 testing at different locations. And finally, our last critical milestone is the testance and acceptance of the incline elevators at 30th Street Station entrance. This was an old issue. As you remember, the incline elevators failed their factory acceptance test twice. There was also an incompatible communication cable, which further delayed completion of installation. Our mitigation there is our contractor's initial site acceptance testing has been completed. Level 3 test was completed on March 12th. And the New York City Transit acceptance test, level 4, has started and is scheduled to complete this month. That's our report for the 7 West extension.
Independent engineer report be given by Darlene Rivera.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board. Sure. The overall project budget remains at $2.42 billion. Based on project information, the INC currently forecasts an estimated completion of $2.42 billion. The contingency at project completion is forecast to be $2 million, which is a decrease from $7 million from last reported. Additional monies may be needed to be allocated for New York City support for longer work shifts, a 6-day work week, and extension of time. 2 systems, fire alarm and communications backbone, remain on the critical path for revenue service, along with multiple additional systems near critical. MTACC has implemented extended work shifts, a 6-day work week, a shortened integrated testing duration, and concurrent testing of the fire alarm systems at multiple sites. MTACC's schedule shows 15 weeks until construction and testing completion, with 2 weeks afloat. Given the risks identified by MTACC and the inherent risks of integrated systems testing, which has yet not begun, resolution of code compliance safety security requirements, this may not be adequate. The IEC agrees with MTACC that the challenge to citing a revenue service date include potential delays associated with the Site J developer work. Findings and recommendations. The IEC conducted a comparative review of the Line 7 project state certification process and identified the need for a documented process. New York City Transit witnesses several levels of systems testing, and open issues are tracked via an observation log by discipline. Checklists have been developed by New York City Transit, user groups, system safety, code compliance, and ADA, and the stations group. The IEC recently recommended a state certification plan be formalized and packaged for the Line 7 extension projects, as is being done for MTACC's 2nd Avenue subway. The IEC recommends this process be prioritized. MTACC has begun formalizing this plan to document the process, and the IAC will continue to monitor this and verify the plan once it's complete.
Any comments or questions on 7 extension? If none, we'll move on to 2nd Avenue subway. Anil Parikh.
Good afternoon. The 2nd Avenue subway project is on schedule to meet the December 2016 revenue service dates. The project is within budget. The construction work is progressing at all 4 stations and tunnels in between stations. Progress since last reported is as follows. The facility power equipment was delivered and installation is ongoing at 96th Station. Installed 5,800 linear feet of track out of 22,000 linear feet of track. Completed mezzanine slab work at 86th Station. Continue surface utility restoration work on the east side of 2nd Avenue between 92nd Street and 99th Street. 90-day look ahead. Complete track installation in the tunnel between 63rd Street Station and 72nd Street Station. Complete the entrance 1 rock excavation at 72nd Street Station. The entrance 1 is located at 301 East 69th Street. Complete the upper mezzanine slab and platform slab work at 86th Station. Next slide, please. Actual dollar spent is less than the 2009 planned expenditure. This is due to the favorable construction bids received for the construction contracts. The estimated completion is at $4.351 billion. The third-party construction dollar spent is also less than the 2009 planned expenditure for the same reason. Next slide, please. Schedule. The project had 186 calendar days of contingency in 2009. The current scheduled contingency this quarter decreased to 38 calendar days from 84 calendar days. This is due to the slower progress on the track installation work. An agreement was reached with the contractor to resequence the track work and accelerate the track work where possible. This will help to gain some of the lost scheduled contingency, and track work will no longer be on the critical path. Project has implemented acceleration of specific work activities to maintain the program contingency. Budget. The project had $322 million contingency in 2009 budget. The current budget contingency is $190 million, which is $60 million less than the last report. The reduction in contingency is due primarily to additional construction management cost, insurance cost, and forecasted additional work orders in the construction contracts. Next slide, please. Critical milestones and issues. The issue is the facility power energization at all 3 stations may not be available in time to support planned testing and commissioning activities. The impact is delay to the availability of the permanent power will have a direct impact on the project contingency. The project is working with the contractor and developed a detailed schedule that completes facility power work prior to December 2015. Implement acceleration plan for the 72nd Street Station and 86th Street Station to maintain the facility power installation schedule. And work with the Con Edison to assure that the feeders are ready to be energized to support the December 2015 date. Next slide, please. The next issue is the completion of the entrance 1 work by September 2016 to maintain the project revenue service date at the 72nd Street Station. The impact is the delay to the substantial completion of the 72nd Street Station and potential impact to the September 2016 completion may impact the revenue service dates. We are working with the contractor to maintain the schedule by monitoring the progress of the critical work such as rock excavation, concrete lining, and street excavation work. The contractor has started concreting the lower portion of the escalator incline ahead of planned schedule. We are also exploring opportunities to increase work hours on certain upcoming activities within the building. Next slide, please. The issue was the turnover of the electrical conduits from the station contract to the systems contract at 63rd Street Station was delayed. The impact was delayed access to the systems contract and potential delay to the beneficial use date for the station. However, 63rd Street Station portion of the systems contract does not impact the revenue service date. The contractor has completed the communication and signal conduit installation work and turned over to the systems contractor. This issue is now closed. Next slide, please. The issue was the construction of the Ancillary 2 building, which is located at 97th Street on 2nd Avenue, which will house mechanical and electrical equipments, was delayed due to the interference of existing surface utilities. The impact was delayed to the substantial completion of the 9060 station. This delay has impact to the project contingency, had impact to the project contingency. The project has worked with the contractor to accelerate the construction of the ancillary structure. An additional work order was issued to the contractor to work multiple shifts and Saturdays to bring the 9060 station substantial completion of October 2016 back to August 2016. This issue is now closed. Next slide, please. The issue is the track installation work is delayed by 2 months due to the slow progress in submission of the alignment drawings and track installation. The impact is the track installation is on the critical path and has impacted the project contingency. The project is working with the contractor to expedite the submission and approval of the track alignment submissions. As I stated earlier, agreement was reached with the contractor to resequence the track work and accelerate the track work where possible. This will help to gain some of the lost schedule contingency. Track work will no longer be on the critical path of the project. This is my report. Thank you.
Ken Hagels will deliver the independent engineer report.
In our review of the is that on? Yeah, okay. Let me start with the schedule. In our opinion, the schedule contingency now is minimal, and that with 20 months to go in this project, more contingency, more schedule mitigation is needed in order to establish an acceptable level of comfort with the target revenue service date in December of 2016. We have 4 concerns here, 3 of which have been shared with the project: the provision of permanent power, the track installation, and entrance 1. We would also recommend to the project that they take a deep look at the remaining work on the 86th Street station. That seems to have slipped and is working now behind plan, and we feel could pose a risk to the completion date. In looking also at some other details on the schedule, I want to recognize the project for making some substantial improvements in their schedule, which were rolled out within the last month. We now have detailed testing and commissioning plans from each of their contractors. We've got some pretty good logic revisions showing the relationships between the finished contractor and the systems contractor. And the project's working hard now with biweekly test planning meetings to use that schedule to keep on top of the upcoming testing and commissioning program. We're in the midst of a comprehensive review of schedule management procedures for the project, and we formulated a series of recommendations that we're working through with the project. We expect to refine and implement those in the coming months. Turning to the budget, as you saw, the project is on budget, but the cost contingency has decreased markedly to accommodate forecasts for increases in cost to construction management, construction support services, and insurance. Given this, and given our schedule concerns, the IEC will do an independent risk assessment of the entire program in May in order to better evaluate where we stand in terms of cost and schedule risks for the remaining period of the project. We have 2 recommendations for the project to consider. Regarding the track work schedule, we think it's important that interim milestones are established so that actual progress in the placement of the track be reported on a quarterly basis, preferably at this meeting, so that we can actually track the amount of track being placed versus what is planned, and get a better handle on evaluation of how the acceleration efforts that the project is undertaking will be coming along. Secondly, we asked the project to develop and execute acceleration plans for the remaining work at 86th Street. We feel this is necessary to counter any further slips in that station's completion. Mr. Chairman?
Any comments or questions from the board? Andrew?
There were a couple of references in this presentation to the 63rd Street Station. We're not changing the name of Lexington 63rd to just 63rd, are we?
I haven't heard any discussion on that. I think the importance of us completing this project on time is one that we need to focus on because as we see the increased ridership across the system, we had a discussion today at the committee meeting on that. The #1 most traveled line in the country is Lexington Avenue line, so any ability we have to be able to offload what is already over capacity right now at the north end of Lexington will really help us. So keep going. Next presentation is on East Side Access, and Bill Goodrich is going to give the management part of the presentation.
For East Side Access, the schedule remains the same, on schedule for December 2022, and within the $10.178 billion budget, and we are about 56% complete overall at this point. That's as of the financial close the end of February. Some of the highlights on progress, as I spoke this morning, we did successfully cut over the 12 kV S feeder system in Herald, which was a major impediment for us, has been a major impediment for us in Herald. That was completed at the end of February, and it's allowing us to proceed with demolition of the existing system, which opens up more area in Herald for us to complete contract work. CM14B was issued notice of award and notice to proceed on February 2nd. We've advertised the last major contract in Manhattan, the GCT station cavern and track contract, CM007. That was advertised in December. As far as one of our active contracts, I wanted to mention Manhattan North Structures. That contract is somewhat behind schedule right now, and we're monitoring that pretty closely. The contractor has submitted a recovery schedule, which we have accepted, and we're monitoring to that recovery schedule. But it's really too early to tell how they're progressing against that. We need some more time to evaluate that. As far as our systems package, which is our large project-wide systems contract, CS179, we have not only received the baseline schedule, there's been a change since the book was prepared. We actually now have conditionally accepted their schedule, and so that schedule will be statused as of March 31st, and we're expecting to be able to look at that. I'll talk about that more in the issue slides. We also are in the process of advertising the CH57 contract in Herald, which is the next major contract in Herald. As far as the 90-day look ahead, we expect to complete the commissioning of the 12 kV C feeder system, which is another part of that power distribution system in Herald. That's in the CH53 contract. And we expect to achieve substantial completion on the 55th Street vent plant facility this next quarter as well. Next slide. As far as cost and schedule performance, overall, we're about 99.5% of plan on the total project, and we're 98.7% of plan on third-party construction. In terms of cost and schedule contingency, with the June 2014 plan, the overall schedule contingency for the program is 22 months. That remains the same. We have not consumed any of that contingency. In terms of cost, the current budget contingency is $709 million. Our last reported budget contingency was $819 million. The net decrease that you see here in cost contingency is primarily driven by the award of the CM14B contract, which unfortunately we had to award it higher than our planned budget. As far as critical issues, the first issue is the CS-179 schedule, the acceptance of the baseline schedule and the progressing of the engineering submittals related to that. We're describing it here as a two-pronged issue. The first being that the contractor's baseline schedule submission was late and it was not acceptable. However, that has now rectified itself. We have accepted it with comments. The second issue is the schedule risk due to a late start on contractor engineering activities, which is the engineering needed for their submittals. Now that we have an accepted baseline, they'll status that, and we'll be able to review closely which activities are in fact late and by how much. We have been holding review workshops with the contractor on what we believe is their key submittals, and they've been working closely with us. But as I mentioned, our focus will be on a very detailed review of any late engineering submittals once the schedule is statused. This is the procurement of the main station cavern and track contract, CM007. The issue here is an untimely award of this contract will impact integrated systems testing and potentially impact project contingency. We're looking to award this contract preferably by November of this year. That would provide us additional time for the contractor's procurement and delivery of precast concrete elements, which is the early critical path in that contract. However, we cannot award that contract later than January of 2016. And this contract is contingent upon the availability of funding. Next issue is the cutover of the H3 central instrument location, the signal hut in Harold Interlocking. We're looking to do that cutover in November. The issue is any delays we have in the design of the signal system circuits, completion of conduits and wiring in the field to the CIL must be completed in time to do the cutover testing, and late completion of those would put pressure on the cutover date, which is November. This will be the first cutover of signals in Harold Interlocking, which will include civil speed enforcement as far as a feature, and this will allow the cutover of the follow-on CILs. Mitigation, we have resequenced much of the work in Harold, and we're continuing to resequence work in Harold due to the delays we've seen, and we're giving first priority to the work in Harold that's critical to support revenue service. That means some of the other work in Harold will in fact be completed later than originally planned. This also requires a timely approval of the resequencing plan by the project stakeholders to facilitate our implementation. Next issue here is the Amtrak support for our Harold Structures Part 3, which is constructing the westbound bypass. The issue is that Amtrak to date has not been able to supply the required outages to support our schedules or the resources to meet the contract schedule, and that the contractor is incurring delay. The substantial completion of this contract currently is delayed by about 6 months, with additional future delays possible if we don't resolve the issue. In terms of mitigation, we're increasing to the extent we can the number of shifts, working overtime and resequencing work to minimize the impact. However, implementation of any of these options is still dependent on Amtrak support.
What does Amtrak say about that now?
Well, we're working with them. We're doing a few things to try and improve the situation. We've actually looked at the shifts, changing the hours of some of the key force account resources, and we're also working with the division and Amtrak's management to prioritize east side access within the division, and we're starting to see some fruits of that discussion, but we really got to monitor it for quite some period of time here. We're also seeking.
When it says that Amtrak's not supplying the required outages, how big a section of track are we talking about for an outage?
Well, it varies depending on where we are, but you know, we do struggle with that because there are times when we'll get the track resources, we'll have them available, but there'll be another priority in the system, such as track replacement work that has taken priority over us, and we'll lose the outage.
From here on in, it's going to be, I won't say a struggle, but a challenge to be able to get all the differing priorities handled. The East River tunnels have got a lot of sandy work that need to be done. There's a lot of work related to this project that needs to be done in Herald. There are other priorities they have in Herald. They have limitations on resources in the form of electric traction resources and what they call basically their flagging resources. And we certainly have their attention, but for the remaining time that we have work going on in Herald, it'll be a challenge.
So as I assume they don't want to disrupt their busiest line, the Northeast Corridor, so this would be in the middle of the night, these outages, or weekend? Well, weekends they're still busy, but
I mean, Bill will tell you, but I think the majority of them are weekends when the traffic is lighter. But it's on their radar screen. They definitely know it, and they're not shirking their responsibility. It's just that it's a challenge because they're not in total control of their destiny with some parts of the labor issues and also limited resources they have.
The next slide is pretty much what we just talked about, but it's Amtrak resources in general required throughout the interlocking. You know, it's not just CH-57 that we've struggled with, but they have an effect on the other contract work as well as they're performing direct work for us. They do all the catenary work in Herald with their own crews, and you know, that's been a problem as well. As I mentioned, we in terms of mitigations, we have resequenced the remaining Herald work, which we call ESA first, to prioritize the work required to support revenue service to avoid impact in the revenue service. We're continuing to meet with Amtrak on the issue to develop strategies to provide the required resources and the outages to support the schedule. The final slide talks about a project risk assessment. This is also in your book in more detail. This is the CM14B contract, which we awarded in February. The risk assessment was completed in November. The risk results were based upon an 80% confidence level. In terms of schedule, the risk-informed project duration was 51 months, which was 9 months longer than the project baseline of 42. And we have taken the schedule risks that were identified as a result of that assessment, and we're working with the contractor and our CM office on mitigation strategies to mitigate those risks. In terms of cost, the risk-informed cost ranged from $421 million to $482 million, as compared to our revised budget of $461 million. That concludes my report.
Independent engineer report will be provided by Kurt Eggers.
Good afternoon. The budget and schedule review revealed that the project currently carries a contingency of $709 million, or 15% of the remaining unexpended budget of $4.7 billion. Okay. This represents a reduction of $110 million compared with the last report in December of 2014. The revenue service date of December 2022 and the schedule contingency of 22 months have not changed since they were established in June of 2014. The introduction of the ESA First schedule, which puts more emphasis on the Herald work required for revenue service, keeps Herald off the project critical path. Issues in Manhattan and for the systems. The contract to finish out the GCT caverns is in procurement, and the risk assessment is planned for next month. The North Manhattan structures contract is tracking behind the approved recovery schedule, which may impact the handover of the lower level tunnels to the follow-on contract. And in the opinion of the IC, sequencing and durations for local and integrated systems testing in the contractor's baseline schedule for Systems Package 1 are not adequate. Since the schedule is now accepted, any remaining concerns will have to be addressed in schedule updates. Issues in Herald. As stated, the ESA First schedule for Herald allows an earlier completion of Herald work required for revenue service based on the following assumptions: additional money for escalation costs, extension of the FRA grant beyond 2017, and vetting by Long Island Railroad and Amtrak operations. Furthermore, the recently revised signal hut cutover plan needs to be closely coordinated with the ESA First schedule to address the delays to design for software upgrades, a tight schedule for the installation of infrastructure between Herald and Woodside, and delays to catenary installations to facilitate required terrain routes in Herald. This concludes my report.
Are there any questions of the independent engineer? Long project, long way to go. We still got to keep focused on it. Craig Stewart's got some reports, and then we'll go into executive session for one item.
I will present the 2015 commitment and completion performance highlights through February. This report can be found on page 54 of your agenda. Commitments. In 2015, agencies plan to commit $3.1 billion, including 34 major commitments that we will track throughout the year. To date, the MTA planned 4 major commitments. Three were committed on time. One of the major commitments was New York City Transit, and it was a delay in one segment of the first quarter track program has been rescheduled. This work has been rescheduled to May. Agencies have committed a total of $615 million through February versus $632 million year-to-date goal. Completions. In 2015, agencies plan to a total of $2.6 billion in project completions, including 25 major completions that we will track throughout the year. The MTA completed one major project through February. That's B&T's deck replacement and the Bronx Whitestone Bridge, which was valued at $143 million. Agencies have completed $238 million versus $291 million year-to-date goal. This concludes my commitments and completion report. Any questions? Okay. Traffic light report, I will refer you to, refer committee members to page 61. If there are any questions, we'll be glad to respond. And I want to bring to your attention the quarterly capital change order report, which is also in your book on page 130, not being presented also. That concludes my report.
If there are no questions on Craig's reports, go ahead, Andrew.
When can we expect work to commence on the Cranberry tube?
Cranberry? I think Cranberry may be underway now, isn't it, on the weekend?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's on the
If it's
weekend.
not, it's good.
Fred,
Oh, April, it was close. I was going to say.
why don't you come up to the mic just to say, he's saying later in April, and I believe these are weekend GOs for the most part, Fred?
Contract was awarded.
The real one will be 14th Street, Canarsie,
Yeah, Canarsie.
obviously. No further questions. I'd like to move to go into executive session in accordance with New York Public Officers Law, Section 105-1A. Matters which will imperil the public safety if disclosed, and we'll go right here in the room here. Seconded? All in favor, aye. Let's go next door here.